All right, everyone, welcome to the lunch break. It is hump day here at FNGO. Hope you guys aren't working too hard. I see you over there on Instagram, guys. I got kicked off of TikTok yesterday, so we're adding Instagram to our lunch break today while the guys on YouTube and Facebook are jumping on. So hope you guys are doing good. Got a lot to talk about today. Had a great live well last night. Talked about ICAST 2025, and today we've got some good stuff. We're going to talk about your bucket list fishing trips. What's up, John G. Wilson? We're going to, Coleman, I'm going to get those frogs out to you today. But had a good day yesterday, good thing going on. But we're going to talk today about bucket list fishing trips, Ozzy Osbourne, and whatever the hell else you guys want to talk about. So that's what's up. Does it sound weird? Are you saying it sounds weird, Carson? Because some people said it sounded weird yesterday, but some people said it was fine. So you guys up there, let me know if the mics are working. They should be fine, but I'll double check real quick. What's up, Cam? While I got you guys there, let me know. Mic is off or low. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. How about right now? You know, it might work a hell of a lot better if I cut the damn mics on. Does that sound better? Sound like you know why? Because Alex, when he hit it last night, he muted the mics. So let me know what it sounds like right now before we get started. Much better. There you go. My bad, guys. You guys know how it is. You that follow us all the time. Sounds normal. Yeah, you know why? Because I didn't press the button. That damn macchiato caramel, whatever, hadn't kicked in yet. But anyway, guys, we're on Instagram today since you guys witnessed me getting kicked off of TikTok yesterday. So for those watching on Instagram, join in the conversation. You can put comments or whatever you want. We're going to talk about that. That's what we do here on YouTube. Okay. So Marshall Stamps, long story. You know, we talked last night about me grabbing his butt at ICAST. I did leave off the detail that at the line cutters party, I came up and I slapped Marshall on the butt again. And I was walking there, had a couple of old fashions in my hand, and all of a sudden somebody just absolutely nailed me from the backside. And it was Marshall Stamp's wife. She did that. I didn't want to talk about it because I enjoyed it. John G, if we're being honest, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I left that off. Totally forgot about it. But anyway, Jake Ann, it's been a hell of a day today. Much needed lunch break. You and me both. I just sat through a digital sportsman conference call. Georgia Country Boy TV, happy lunch, everybody. Well, listen, we need this break, so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about today. Now, as always, you guys on Instagram, as you start joining on, you'll kind of figure out how we do this stuff. I'm going to give you some useless knowledge today. And then Coleman, slow down, Coleman. We ain't got to that yet. I know you're getting married and you're excited. Slow down. Slow down. Take a break. It's hump day. It's hump day. On this day in history, guys, on this day in history, in 1903, Ford, the Ford Motor Company, sold its first car. You guys ain't got any guess what it was? What's up, Josh Taylor? Sold its first car. It was a Model A. The price tag, $850. In 1903, a brand new Model A. I don't know what kind of it was loaded with. I don't know what all it had on there. I'm sure it wasn't power steering. $850. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Here's another cool one. I'm going to give you two today. In 1962, on this day, Jackie Robinson became the first black baseball player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, as he should have been. As he should have been. Man changed the game. For the better. Don't want nobody coming in the comments saying that he didn't, but for the better. So I thought, you know, those were two pretty cool things. Ford sold its first car, and Jackie Robinson went into the Hall of Fame. What's up, Josh Taylor? Sometimes I wish you could still buy a bare vehicle with minimal tech. Atlanta Outdoors. You know why? Because you can work on damn things. Both my daughter, I can't even change the brake pads on my daughter's Honda Civic because it's got electric brakes or something like that. Very cool. The 42 movie is a great movie about Jackie, and that had old Lucas Black in it, my buddy Lucas. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I got Lucas's number. I need to reach out to him and get him on the podcast. bringing back masculinity. So I think I'll reach out to Lucas, see if he can come on next week. But it was pretty cool. Now, we started this yesterday, so we're going to do it today. Our Gen Z slang word of the day. Now, you guys in the comment section, do you remember what yesterday's word was? And how many of you actually went and used it in a sentence? Anybody out there remember it? It was drip. And Jeremiah Giles was drip. There you go. So yesterday's was drip. Here's a new one. The Gen Z slang word of the day today is T. T-E-A. T. Now, before I go any further, you guys out there in the comment section land, do you know what T means? Doc Holiday drip. No, I didn't. Come on, Doc. I know you're one of the older guys that watch this, but you got to get out there. You got to start talking in the vernacular of today's kids. But T, does anybody know what T means? Now, I'll tell you what I think it means. Okay. Kyle Brown, Coleman Jones. Both of you put your age down. Messick, all you guys. Kyle, Coleman, Messick, and Atlanta Outdoors. What's your age? Because to me, tea is a drink. Tea is a drink. Sweet tea. Not none of this Earl Grey bull crap. Not that stuff. Is no unsweetened tea. Barely 24. That's why you guys know what it means. I had no idea. 25. Now, Kyle Brown, you're 35, so you're right there on that edge. You're still young enough. As a 53-year-old man, and Atlanta Outdoors turned 32. John G. Wilson, I'd never heard of it either. 63 here. Coleman said that's what we threw in the harbor when the Brits acted up. I know it. So, John G., you and I together, and I'm sure there's some older ones on there. Tea is something we drink. But it's not just gossip. Tea is fresh gossip. Fresh gossip. And Mike Geiger is 65. I knew I had a lot of old fellas watching me. I appreciate you guys too. But fresh gossip. And they, on the website that I pulled this from, try not to get the hiccups. But on the website that I pulled this from, which is the Slang Dictionary, it gave me an example, just like yesterday. Now, these are two, I would say, 20-year-olds talking. Number one and number two. Roger Gibson's 82. Here's to you, big dog. Atlanta Outdoors. I'm trying not to get the hiccup. I'm going to get the damn hiccups on this show. I play online games with some people that are 25 and younger. I hear it all. I bet you do. Georgia Country Boy's 52. In 1948, Ozzy Osbourne was born in Birmingham, England. He died yesterday. My fishing music won't be the same. We're going to talk about Ozzy here in a second. But here's a suggested conversation between two Gen Zers. Okay, number one and number two. So picture number one going up to number two. Can I spill the tea for you? Not unless it's piping hot tea. This is the freshest tea. Spill. Now, if I had a couple guys in my shop and they were talking like that, I'd be sitting back going, what in the hell am I listening to? But tea is the Gen Z word of the day. So it's fresh gossip. Now, if you guys got any tea out there and you want to throw it in the comment section, by all means, throw the tea out. Spill the tea. Give us some fresh gossip. And hopefully, them hiccups are going to go away. Messick Outdoors says, ain't no way people actually talk like that. That's just the example that they put out there. I'm just reading it. I'm just a messenger. Chuck Burrell, 84, run a 21 XD. Dang. Fish and farming. Tea of the day is the jig bites on fire. There he goes. There's your tea, guys. Your tea today is that the jig bite is on fire. From Farmer out there. Thought it was interesting. I don't know why guys do that. Roger Gibson says, I'm always the oldest nowadays in most groups. Daniel Bavery, fishing is kind of lame. Yeah, I know, man. And Chuck takes the lead. Messick, my brothers are 24 and 26, and yes, they do. And so anyway, I just, as an old fart, and I shouldn't say old fart. We'll just call Roger, you're the oldest fart here. But as an older gentleman, I just find it really weird that they're taking words and that they are changing them somehow. Now, I sit back and I try to remember when I was 20. You guys know how this guy works. I got a big sign on the door that says "Shop Closed Podcast," and they read the sign, and then they still try to open the door. Anyway, good show last night. It was a good show. But I'm trying to think back when I was 20, 16 to 20, if we took anything and changed it. And I don't remember. We had the Valley Girls. I don't know if you guys remember that. And Coleman, you came. I despise when people use words like that or use the word like after every sentence. So if you remember the Valley Girls back in the 80s, yeah, that was what that was. And Farmer says I'm more of a dry fart. Justin Malcolm says the spoon bite is on fire. Yes, it is. And I'm telling you, if you ever get on a boat with Kevin Underwood, you'll experience it. Fixing to do this or fixing to do that. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I do it as well, is public speaking. When they go, and I do it. But now I sit back and I'm watching somebody give a speech, an acceptance speech, or they're on the news doing a press conference and they use every third word. Drives me crazy, and I know I'm guilty of it. But when it comes to speaking and changing words, the only thing I can remember from the 80s is the Valley Girls. I don't remember taking something that my parents said and twisting it the way they do. Valley Girl talk is so aggravating. It was, but they were pretty, so that's why we let them get away with it. My little brother is in high school, so now I'm definitely going to ask him. I know they use skibbity toilet. I don't know what that means. Or you know what I'm saying, John G. So we all got our pet peeves. Like is an overused word, Phil Hutchinson, way overused. It is. It's better to pause and scan the room for a second than stumble over and But you guys go watch the news. Go watch the news tonight. And they'll have somebody from sheriff's office or something giving a press conference, and they will say, and it's just, I'm like, in public speaking isn't for everybody. Farmer says, it's like every word coming out of my mouth. I've been working on that. And it's tough. I know I do it. Boys, you know it's hot when the paint is drying faster than you can put it on, Jeremy Concry. Absolutely. Now, today here in Georgia, it's overcast, so it doesn't seem to be as hot. But I can tell you last night during the show, this old building, when it gets like, I'm talking super hot, the AC can't keep up. And so last night, I think towards the end of the show, it was 79 degrees in this building. Now, granted, that's not as bad as it was outside, but still 79 is 79 in an air-conditioned space is tough. I feel like speaking, reading, and math is lost now. You know what they're bringing back to school? Cursive. How many of you guys, now you younger guys don't remember that, but back in my day, we had to learn to write in cursive. And I was left-handed. And back then, you sat in a right-handed desk. The skibbity toilet means bad, weird. I'll remember that. We got points deducted when saying those words in college public speaking class. And they totally failed you. That was just them old fashions coming out of you. I'll tell you what, still coming out of me. I learned cursive in the second grade. I took cursive. We had to do that. It was 102.6 in our warehouse when I went home at 3 yesterday. It's just that time of year, and we got to suck it up. You know, before we know it, it's going to be 20 outside. And I don't know who designed these own boxes, but they could have made it a little bit easier to get into when public speaking. But I know I do that too. I know I'll go back and I'll watch. You guys want to know a secret? This is the honest truth. We do a podcast or something, I never go back and watch it. I don't think I've ever, now I'll go back and cut out shorts out of it. We got some artificial intelligence that does that stuff for us. But I'd never, ever go back just for the sheer joy of it and watch one of our shows because I was there when it happened. I've always said that you could cripple an entire generation by putting all instructions in cursive in all cars with manual transmissions. I miss the manual transmission. I learned how to drive in an S10 stick shift. My kids, I don't think, have ever been in a car that was a stick. But I always thought sticks were fun to drive. Unless, of course, you're stuck on a hill in traffic and the guy behind you pulls right up your wazoo and you know you're going to roll just a little bit. I'm looking for, y'all see it right there? I went, I'm looking for a manual Miata. I want one so bad. Coleman, a Miata? Come on, dude, a Miata? Actually, they were cool when they came out. One of my buddies, Jason Glover, had a Miata, little convertible. Excuse me. I go back and watch a lot of the shows. There are some that I've listened to probably 3 or 4 times. That's what we want. I want you guys to go back, especially if it's got some good information. I want you to learn that stuff. But I personally don't. You know why? I can't stand to hear myself talk. And I will pick myself apart every time I go, and it's just not good for my mental health. Cam says my Jeep is a 5-speed and I love it. Country Boy says I had a manual 350Z, fair lady, fun to drive. A 350Z. Let me think of the cars that I had growing up. I had a Fiero GT. That was an auto. No, that was a stick. Beretta GT was a stick. I had a Z24. It was not a stick. I had a Jeep. It was a stick. It seemed like a lot of cars back then, they were just starting to switch. But now, everything's automatic. Tim Hancock, I learned to drive in 5 o'clock traffic in Little Rock, Arkansas in a Volkswagen Beetle 5-speed. Now, Tim, are you sure you weren't one of the first ones to be in line for this Model A that Ford put out? I know how old you are. But that's pretty cool. Now, my brother had a Bug. My dad had listen, y'all talking about embarrassing. You know how when you were little, if your parents had an ugly car and they were dropping you young guys might not know about this, but they drop you off at school. And honest to goodness, y'all, if you had a cool car, you wanted to pull right up front. But if you didn't have a cool car, you wanted them to kind of drop you off. My dad had a Volkswagen station wagon. Early 70s, you're talking like one of them square bodies. It was the most embarrassing vehicle I've ever been in. He won it in a poker game or something like that. I don't even know why he had it, but he drove it everywhere we went. If you guys are familiar with Lake Lanier, Buford Dam Road that goes over Buford Dam itself has a couple of big hills, and I can remember that thing barely making it up them hills. But my dad loved that Volkswagen station wagon. DP's Fishing Misadventures and Doug Rasso. 68 Camaro, 327 4-speed. Miss that car? I bet you do. Farmer says my first vehicle for his son will be a 5-speed. Phil says all my cars I've owned are manuals. My Toyota Tacoma is a 6-speed. DP said I learned to drive in a 76 Plymouth Fury and drive a stick in a Volkswagen Rabbit. Atlanta Outdoors learned to drive in a Jeep. That was a stick. 68, Tim said it was 1968. I'm just giving you hell, big dog. You know how it is. Oh, let's see. John G. Wilson, I learned on a 74 Beetle. Atlanta Outdoors, I live off Buford Dam. Hell, when it freezes over, I bet it is. Tim Hancock, when I was coming of age, a Volkswagen microbus was one of the coolest things you could drive. And I know guys that still want that. They still want that microbus. So I totally get it. Fred Ashcraft, 81, 4-wheel drive Tacoma, our old hunting truck. Daniel Bavery, 64 Fury, push button transmission for this guy. And then John G says, I went from a 74 Volkswagen Bug to a 66 Mustang that me and my dad had restored. I had a 66 Mustang. It was red. My dad and I were redoing it. The interior was perfect. The exterior, I said we got it up to about 90%, and I sold it because I couldn't keep the carburetor running, and I sold it so I could get that Fiero GT. I wish I hadn't done that. Well, thanks for that tidbit. The shop is closed for the podcast. I wondered and was going to ask you. You read my mind. Yeah, I have to shut down because I'm the only one here at the shop. I have to do it. So maybe manual cars should be sent to those idiots at UGA, might cut down on their arrest issues. And then Doug Rice, 3 on the tree. Now I've only driven a 3 on the tree one time. My dad had an old truck that was a 3 on the tree. That is and you know what? I had I forget what year it was. I had a Jeep Grand Wagoneer, the one with the old wood paneling on the side. I missed that too. I should have never got rid of it. But the bright light button you hit in the floor with your foot. You guys, I know you older guys know what I'm talking about. But used to, if you wanted to hit the bright lights, you had to take your left foot, slide it over into the corner, and pop that little button. Pop that little button right there. And nobody does that anymore. And I actually think that's something they should have kept. Let's see. Hell yeah, the dimmer in the floor. You guys remember what I'm talking about? Dimmer switch. Yeah, Hancock. That's what I'm saying. It was in the floor. And every once in a while, I'll see a picture on Twitter or X, whatever the hell they call it, Facebook, and it says, if you know what one of these were, you lived in the best generations. And it's a picture of that thing right there. Carson Fowler, Buddy has a Bronco that has the bright light button down near his feet. Never seen it on anything else. And you won't. And Messick said he had a K10. You won't see it anymore. I don't know why they got rid of it. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to some of the subjects. But you know how it is. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. But everybody knows Ozzy Osbourne died yesterday. Now, I was not a fan of Black Sabbath. They're good. I'm not crazy Black Sabbath fan. I enjoyed Ozzy more as a solo artist because I'm a guitar guy, and I know Tommy Iommi was decent. But I'm Eddie Van Halen's the GOAT. I don't care what you say. But then you had Randy Rhoads, Jake E. Lee. He's had some great guitars. But I like Ozzy. I like his voice. And everybody yesterday, this is what I noticed on social media yesterday. Everybody was like, Ozzy's died, all this. And while it is a sad day, I kind of saw it differently in that I got to thinking, since I grew up in the 80s, and I don't know how many of you young guys know this, but during the 80s, the government of the United States really tried to crack down on rock and roll. And on the lyrics, you had every church in America screaming it was satanic. Y'all remember Tipper Gore and all them in front of Congress and Twisted Sisters, Lee Snyder or Dee Snyder, whatever the hell his name is, But Ozzy was always front and center in that because he was a little crazy back then, a lot of drugs, bit the head off the bat, whatever, all that stuff. All that stuff. And back then, he was the poster child of everything that's supposed to be wrong with music back then. Here's what I noticed yesterday. And it kind of made me thinking how times have changed. You would have thought on social media yesterday the Pope died. Maybe not the Pope. That might be a stretch. But the news outlets, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne, grandfather of rock and roll. Rest in peace. And what stood out to me. Yeah, Paranoid's a good song. Now, I like Paranoid. And I like War Pigs. Iron Man I like, but it got overplayed. But I like them songs. I'm not saying Black Sabbath was not good. I'm just saying I didn't get into Black Sabbath as much because I was a little bit – they came out, 69? So they were more 70s and everything. They're just trying to profit off of them. And that might be Atlanta Outdoors. But what I noticed was had Ozzy Osbourne died in the 80s as opposed to Ozzy Osbourne dying yesterday, the difference in the media coverage, number one. Now, we didn't have social media. We didn't have social media back then. But you guys see what I'm saying? It's like yesterday, Ozzy Osbourne was the beloved rock and roller that had his crazy time but had aged. And I'm wondering, is it the TV show that he did? They would have acted like it was a blessing that he was dead. That's what I'm saying. So, if he'd have died in the 80s, it would have been like good riddance to that guy. Our children didn't need to listen to Ozzy Osbourne. My son who does not listen, my kids, I drove them crazy growing up because they had Van Halen jamming every day because that's just the way I am. But they had to listen to Ozzy Osbourne. They had to listen to Rat. They had to listen to all your 80s music. How different would Ozzy's solo stuff have been if Randy had not gotten on that plane? Phil, hot take right here. I think Jake E. Lee was a better guitarist than Randy Rhoads. And I love Randy Rhoads. I think Jake E. Lee was better. That might be not the thing to say to a lot of people, but that's just it. My dad didn't want me listening to Ozzy. Believe the media coverage today is because of his wife Sharon. Well, see, that is something. But it was so different back then. But yesterday he was beloved. He was beloved. I'm surprised. I hate 70s and 80s music because of my parents. That's what my kids said. That's what I was going to say with my son. My kids, they didn't have a choice. They did not have a choice. I think Zach is the best guitarist Ozzy had. Between him and Jakey Lee, that's just, but it could have been different if Randy hadn't died. I think Zach Wilde is awesome, especially young Zach Wilde. But that's what I noticed yesterday. That's what I noticed yesterday. To be honest, it wouldn't have been that different. Randy is one of my idols, but every Ozzy guitarist has massive chops. And it really is. It's 1A, 1B, 1C. They're all awesome. None of them are as good as Eddie Van Halen. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. But I know what you guys are saying. But I just noticed that yesterday. And so while everybody was saying their sorries and rest in peace and all that and kind of their best Ozzy memories and all that, the way my brain worked is like, you know what? In 1988, it would have been so different than in 2025. Now, music fell off bad right about midway through the 90s. Hey, listen, Crazy Train is your alarm. True story. You remember, and I guess you could still do it, but when cell phones started getting big, I went out and you could buy your ringtone. And I bought Crazy Train. And so when my phone would ring, it'd go, just like it does. And I kept that and I loved it until I was sitting in Decatur one day. I was on a job site. And I got paid. I still never finished the story about my son. I'll get that in a second. But I got paid, went to a bank, cashed a check. And there was this sweet little old lady right beside me. And I bet she had to be 75, 80. And we're talking, guys, 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And you know how it is in a bank? It's quiet. And I worked on job sites. So I had my ringtone all the way up. And all of a sudden we're sitting there and I'm at my teller. She's at her teller. And all of a sudden it goes, Oliver! And it scared the ever-loving crap out of that old lady. I mean, it scared her so bad that I felt awful. I felt awful. And that day I went and I changed it back to dunka, 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 dunk. You know, that one right there. But I loved Ozzy Osbourne. What is your favorite? Okay, how about this? I'm going to ask you guys this. Was that because you love some Chipper Jones? I did love Chipper Jones. Still love Chipper Jones. To me, I still think he's the greatest switch hitter in history. And I know some people say Mantle and all that, but I think times were different. I think when Chipper did it, it was harder. And I love the Braves. So, yeah, I'm biased. But what is this? What's your favorite Ozzy Osbourne song with Black Sabbath? And what's your favorite Ozzy Osbourne song as a solo artist? Because if I had to answer that question, I'm going to say Paranoid with Black Sabbath. But as a solo artist, I'm going with the song Miracle Man. You guys remember that? It was about Jimmy Swaggart. Remember, Miracle Man got busted. Zach Wilde played the guitar on that. That's my favorite Ozzy song as far as a rocker, as far as like rock. And then my actual overall favorite song by Ozzy Osbourne, it's not Crazy Train. It's not any of the ones, Suicide. It's none of those. It's the Road to Nowhere. Because actually, Ozzy could sing. Ozzy had a good voice. The man could sing. Chipper's the greatest switch hitter to ever do that. I forgot how good the Road to Nowhere is. That's my favorite cut. But if I had to pick like just a jammer, it's Miracle Man as a solo and Paranoid with Black Sabbath. So you got the Road to Nowhere is good. I like Ozzy as a person, never liked that style of music. I like guitars. From Billy Strings to Roy Clark, you name it. If it's a good guitar, I like it. With Sabbath, Children of the Grave, solo Mr. Crowley, or Bark at the Moon. Both excellent choices. Absolutely excellent choices. Another cut that I like, I Don't Want to Change the World. Now, we're getting on into the Zach Wilde thing. With Jakey Lee. Oh, hell, what is that song? It comes on my playlist all the time. It'll pop in my head. War Pigs and Bark at the Moon. Good one. Gen Xers are guitar nuts. I'm one too. We grew up in a time, in the 70s, I would say too, and even the 60s, where they played their instruments. I time my lunch breaks to hear these conversations. Farmer said, that's the purpose. That's awesome. We Gen X, guys don't play their instruments like they did back in the day. You saw somebody in concert, you had a bass player, a guitarist or two, and the guy could sing or not, and a drummer. And that was it. Things are a little bit different. There was no auto tune. As much as I love Eddie Van Halen, you can go back and listen to some old concert footage, and he's playing out of tune. I mean, it's like, but they didn't care back then. It was what it was. It was just like they said, a U-Haul full of women and beer going 100 miles an hour down the highway. That's what Van Halen was. And Ozzy Osbourne was the same thing. But if Ozzy Osbourne would have died back then, more people would be like, good riddance. And now, what's up, Big Bait John? Now you're wondering if they're using electronics or lip syncing. Absolutely. They don't have tuning pedals. They didn't have tuning pedals back then. They didn't have a lot. They had an amp, like they call it a flanger to make that, distortion and stuff, but it's different. Auto-tune has ruined live shows. Sounds like I'm listening to Spotify for a lot of artists. 100%. Best solo ever was on Crazy Train. Jeremiah, no, sir. No, sir. I love you, dude, but no. I just have to agree to disagree with you. But it was a good tune. I was an 80s baby and a 90s kid, so hairband music was done by the time I got to pick up my own music. And I understand that. That's fair. But my kids, back to my son, we started that conversation 10 minutes ago. They didn't have a choice. But yesterday, my son, we got a family group text. And out of nowhere, my son went, R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne. Now, it's different because in the 80s, if I'd have said I was listening to Ozzy or something like that, they'd all been running around with their hands over their ears saying, turn it down, Dad. Turn it down. But, times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same. You know how it is. Mr. Crowley solo is a lot harder. Most of the amps then were Class A electronics, way more responsive to how hard you played. I love my Class A amps. Technology. Now they just hit buttons, not drums and guitars. Tim Hancock. When I played, I had a talk box, a wah-wah, volume fuzz pedal, and a treble booster, 1975. See how times are different now. But they played this stuff. So I think the attachment that I've got with Ozzy is that's my high school again. That's my high school. And I remember all the drama. And, the stories of Ozzy snorting ants and stuff like that. Like, okay, whatever. Bands actually played instruments and wrote their own music, are mostly independent now and play small venues. Streaming allows anyone to make music now. That's true. The lunch break is great. Thank you, Roger. It's so bad, guys, that I can put out. Now, I can play the hell out of air guitar. I can play some air guitar. I can strum a guitar. I grew up listening to KZ 106 in my father's truck going to high school or heading to the lake. Hairband music holds a special place in my heart. That's right. There are some extremely technical players now, but the way they compose music is not for the listener. It's for people with superiority complexes, and the songs are horrid. That's true. That is true. Eddie, now, of course, I know we're supposed to be talking about Ozzy, but Eddie always told people, he told his son or anybody, that if you're playing and you make a mistake, number one, you don't acknowledge it. You act like it was part of the song. And you might just play it again, and sometimes that leads to something that's really cool. What's the upside? What's up with the upside down 96 Rock license plates? Now we're talking. 96 Rock in the 80s and early 90s, especially the 80s, that was the rock and roll station in Atlanta. Now, turn it upside down, you can kind of get it. Spraying weeds at work. NC Bass Puller. Spraying weeds at work for a while listening. Thanks for making the day go by easier. NC Bass Puller, that's what I'm here for, buddy. It makes my day go by easier, too. You guys realize when I come in, 96 Rock was it. When I come in here in the morning, and I've been working all morning, and my life is now full of emails. It used to be tying jigs and stuff. Now it's full of emails and Zoom meetings and stuff. It's totally different. Knowing that at 12 o'clock I got a live, time drags. I jump on this live, and an hour and a half goes like. So, yeah, I feel the exact same way. Straight acoustic is always the best. I like me some Billy Strings. Little booger can pick a guitar. But I'm telling you, Roy Clark, if I had to pick a Mount Rushmore of guitar players, a Mount Rushmore, and you guys, some of you guys might crucify me for this. You know, Eddie's going to be the one in front. Everybody knows that. It would go Eddie Van Halen. It would go Roy Clark. It would go David Gilmour. And I'm not even a Pink Floyd fan. I just know how good the guy can play. And it would be Jeff Beck. Billy Strings and some of them guys would be one down. But I would put Roy Clark on there because he could do stuff with an acoustic guitar that I don't know if anybody in the world ever could do. 99X was pretty lit too. 99X started playing that alternative rock. And I'm not a big alternative fan. Some modern bands can't even play 1 to 2 songs without tracks. Yeah. KZ106 was out of Chattanooga on the first thing in the morning, and it was John Boy and Billy. So that reminds me of when B.B. King broke a string live on stage, restrung the guitar, tuned it, and kept playing like nothing happened live in front of everybody. You wouldn't have had noticed that mistake. I'm gonna give you something to go watch. Jimi Hendrix was the guitarist. Let's see. You could put Jimmy on there, and I like Jimi Hendrix, but I think he gets a lot of love because he was the first one that came out doing all this stuff. I think there's been 2 game changers in the guitar world: Jimi Hendrix, and then in '78 when Van Halen came out. Because when Van Halen came out in '78, that basically changed an entire decade of music, and Jimi Hendrix changed the decade following him. But there's a lot of great guitarists. Prince, I'm telling you, Prince can play the hell out. Well, could play the hell out of a guitar. Clapton was too slow for me. If you guys really want to do some fun, but let me get back to Jeremiah. So there's a video out of a concert that Van Halen did called "Live Without a Net." Came out in 1986 when Sammy Hagar joined. Halfway through the show, or towards 2/3 towards the end of the show, Eddie Van Halen does Eruption. So he does 13 minutes that I think anybody and everybody should watch. It's the best guitar solo live I've ever seen. But right after that, they go straight into "I Can't Drive 55." And if you watch the video, Eddie breaks a string halfway through that song. Sammy Hagar is up in the rafters, and Eddie is down there on the bottom. He's playing, and you see him take that guitar string. He throws it a couple times. He keeps playing. Then he wraps it around his neck and starts playing one-handed and doesn't miss a beat. Now he's got a guitar tech. When they get to the breakdown, the dun 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 dun, they get through that, and then Sammy's got a little solo piece. And when Eddie does that, his guitar tech brings him out another guitar, and they switch. But he took that guitar string and wrapped it around his neck and just starts playing it. And he's not playing like, I mean, he's ripping his fingers, and they don't miss a beat. Any great guitarist can do that. Vince Gill, he's a good one. I'll tell you the best, another guy too. Brad Paisley can jam a guitar. Chet Atkins is good. See, I love this show. I didn't plan on talking about guitarists, and we go right in guitars. I can talk guitarist all day long, but they're all great. But the best one out there now, to me, the best guitarist, rock guitarist, the 2 best guitarists out there now, in my opinion, is Billy Strings on the bluegrass country acoustic side, and Nuno Betancourt of Extreme. He can play anything. He is a shredder, jammer, anything. Steve Vai was good. Yeah, best guitarists are Chet Atkins, Roy Clark, Jerry Reed, and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Now listen, I'll give you Roy Clark. Stevie Ray Vaughan was good. They all were good. It just depends on what kind of music. So I think when you get into the argument of who's the greatest ever, it's who do I like better than anybody else. I think that really goes down to it. Because every one of the guys that you guys are throwing up there, I can listen to because they're talented and they can play. I can listen to all of them. So that being said, we start talking about Ozzy Osbourne, and next thing we're breaking down the best guitarist to ever play. I love that. I got a question for you guys, and we can continue on that conversation. And you guys know we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I had a question about bucket list trips. And here's the reason why, because we're setting up the next season of the Real American Road Trip. Eric Johnson's good. Cliffs of Dover is a absolute masterpiece. SRV's good. But like, it's funny, you got your SRV guys, and he's the GOAT. You got your Jimi Hendrix guys, he's the GOAT. Nobody's mentioned Jimmy Page. Nobody's mentioned Jimmy Page yet, which is kind of shocking to me. Joe Bonamus is really good. They're all great. They're all great. But it is the kind of music you like. And then at that point it becomes part of your just part of who you are. Bucket list trips. Yeah, so let's do this. We get on bucket list trips. So we're setting up season 3 of the Real American Road Trip. We're setting up. We got a new show that we're kind of working on. It's basically the same thing but international. We want to go. That's kind of what that Puerto Rico trip was. And so when I'm sitting here setting up a trip, yeah, Eric Johnson's fingers do look like ET, and Eddie Van Halen went but like 5'7". He's a little guy, but his hands, he had the hands of like a 6'10" center in the NBA. If you look at their hands, man, their hands are just unreal. So anyway, you guys have started listing your trips, and if I miss it, throw it back down there. But let me tell you why I come up with this subject. It's because I'm sitting here and I have guys reaching out to us now. We've gotten to the point where we have lodges and certain people. I've got to talk to some gentleman in Darien, Georgia after the show. And they're reaching out to us. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to craft these trips. So, we have to think logistically with a TV show. But at the end of the day, we always have this conversation. If you could go anywhere, where would it be? Where would it be? And like for me, I want to go to Alaska. I want to go fishing in Alaska. I want to see Alaska, but I want to go fishing in Alaska. And also, too, and I know it sounds crazy, but before I die, I want to be put on a TV show in a shark cage with great white sharks swimming around me. Now, I know that has nothing to do with fishing, but I want to experience a 15 to however hell they get. See you, Tim. However big they are. I want to experience a great white coming at me in a cage, opening up that Steve Tyler mouth of his with all them teeth and jaws it and just slam that cage right in my face. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to scream like a girl. I'll probably shit my pants. But still, what kind of story would that be? Jeremiah says, how did I know he was going to say a shark cage? I want a great white shark to try to physically eat me without being able to eat me. Because I don't think that your heart can get any more excited or scared from that or be stuck in one of them glass safety cages up on the North Pole and having that polar bear trying to eat you and he can't get in and he's just busting his mouth. But that's those are bucket list trips. Now, a lot of you guys started throwing them out there. Throw them back out again because a lot of comments came up, and I couldn't keep up with all of them. I'd like to read them again and see what you guys said. I could scroll back through, but I don't have Alex or Tony or one of them back there to do it for me, so I don't want to accidentally hit the wrong button. But I think I'd like to go fishing in Alaska. Coleman Jones going to Alaska in 2 weeks today to fish. Congratulations, son. Congratulations. I think Alaska for the scenic beauty. Coleman says the St. Lawrence or the Costa Rica for RAR filming. What the hell is RAR? Caddo Lake, Silverpunk says. DP's Fish Misadventure says tarpon in the Keys, Reds off the coast. I'll be doing that here shortly. Lake Fork, Clear Lake, Champlain. Country boy, you ain't a bass guy, are you? Huh? Danny, we can get you squared away with fishing with Puffy up in Alaska at the lodge. He guides that, and I'm gonna have to lean into that. But what I got to do is I get it. Oh, the Real American Road Trip. If you just said RART, you got to put that T on the end. RART. I would have caught that. Going anywhere up north to catch those big smallies would be awesome. Dino, I want to go to Australia to fish the Great Reef. Yeah, me too. I mean, there's a million of them, but if you could only pick one. I think as many great adventures as there are, and I'm at my age, I might have a heart attack and die with the great white shark. I think I just want to go to Alaska one time. Saltwater striper fishing in New England. I've heard that's really cool. And as we do an episode of a season, I've caught the muskie now. It wasn't the biggest one, but I've caught the muskie. The reds and the sea trout. Okay, we've done that. I got the salmon and the Lakers and all that from Lake Michigan and on the Crystal River. Broke Bass Boys, what's going on heading towards the shop? Okay, hey, he's heading. If I'm still on, dude, just hang out outside till it's over. Jeremiah does a lot of great trips that are pretty cool, seeing the pictures. Farmer wants to go to Mexico to fish for those monster peacock bass. So here's how having a TV show is actually kind of cool, because I had a company reach out to us that does peacock bass trips on the Amazon. On the Amazon. And so if we can work out figuring how to raise the money to make it happen, you get the trip for free. So that's the cool thing. It's like where I get to go to these places, you get the trip for free because you're kind of filming the company that's taking you there. So they kind of get an infomercial without it being an infomercial. So it's not so much about paying for the trip. It's paying for the flights to get everybody out there to film it and everything. And then, of course, after you film for a week, then you got to edit all that. And you got to pay people to do that. So when you go somewhere to like the Amazon and you're bringing a TV show, the expenses are stupid. It's stupid. Peacock and smallmouth are on my bucket list. We can knock smallmouth out easy for you, John. Peacock's a little bit different. I think folks are thinking too small. Go to Argentina for golden dorado, or Brazil for peacock bass, or Mexico for roosterfish, wahoo, or marlin. Yeah, and you love your saltwater. So absolutely that. But it is funny what one guy's, bucket trip is, I just want to go catch a smallmouth up north. I would love that trip. And if that was the only trip I had available, 100% I would love it. Alex says, y'all have a good rest of your day. I'm going to go back to being miserable. Silverpunk. I think it's Seward and Juneau are beautiful towns, if that's how you pronounce it right. Messick said, I would like to go to the coast and catch a tarpon with my hands. Can't be much different than noodling for catfish. Well, hey, that's always a possibility. And you guys out on Instagram, y'all can join this conversation if you want. Throw it out there in the comment section. What's up, Henry Cowan? I see you. Henry, for those that Henry started off up north with those saltwater stripers and then brought it down here to our landlocked freshwater stripers. I couldn't noodle for catfish. With my luck, I'd stick my hand in a bowfin's mouth. I just want to catch a big striper on my kayak. So, little secret about the noodling thing, you may or may not know. A lot of those that you see that are filmed, they're kind of pre-planned. And what I mean by that is they build these boxes and they put them out at certain times of the year when the catfish are going to spawn. So they get the catfish up in these boxes. So they know where the boxes are. A lot of people you see on TV in their bikinis and all that doing their thing, it sounds great, but they're not sticking their hand in the damn hole on the Mississippi River, not knowing what's in there. So you got to kind of understand that too. It looks really cool, but they know exactly where those boxes are. And another little secret is they take a piece of PVC and they'll take that PVC and they'll stick it in that box. And they can tell if it's a cat, if a turtle's got in there or whatever, they can tell. So while it looks really, really like dangerous and everything, most of what you watch is not. Okay, it is pre-planned out, or I don't say staged. They still got to stick their hand in there and get them to bite it and pull it out. So, I mean, all that is real, but they're going to a box. Now, if you see Billy Bob with two teeth and his wife/sister, whatever, and they're on some side of a river and they're sticking their hand up in a hole, that's real noodling, because that's where you get the guy that's been noodling and he comes up, I've been noodling for 40 years and he ain't got but 3 fingers. That's real noodling. Don't tarpon have teeth? Not like what you would think. If y'all ever in South Carolina, I can put you on the cats. They get underneath the ramps. Don't tempt me with a good time. We don't have to go to Mexico for peacock. We can go to Miami, right? You can, but the peacock in Miami are not the same as the peacock in Brazil. I want to go noodling with Hannah Barron. You want to have some fun? Next time Hannah Barron puts out her little post, and she's sitting in her little bikini top, and she's got her glasses on, and, go in the comment section. Go in the comment section and see how many perverted old men there are in this world, because that comment section is full of it. And I get secondhand embarrassment just reading the comment section. Now, Hannah Barron, I've stood right beside Hannah Barron. I'm 5'7". She has to be every bit of 5'2", 5'1" on a good day. She built like a brick shit house, but she's a little bitty girl. But you got all these old crusty men in her comment section like, looking beautiful today. I bet you're having fun today. Would love to be with you today. I'd love to go fishing with you today. And I'm sitting there thinking, guys, no, no. Y'all say it like that. They ain't a damn woman in her comment section. Very rarely will you say, hey, you inspire me. And I'm not saying this is a knock against Hannah Barron. I'm knocking the guys that are commenting in her section. It is a bunch of weirdos. Oh, there's some thirsty guys in her comments. My ex was built exactly like Hannah. Doesn't move the needle for me. Well, it moves something because you said X. So at one point, Phil, it moved the needle. Them jokers in the comment section will have their families in their profile pic too. That's no doubt. I'm serious. That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, she's a pretty young lady. She's a pretty young lady, and she works the angle she's supposed to work. It's what making her money. I get it. But it's the guys my age. I got kids older than Hannah Barron. My youngest is 23, but my daughters, they're older than Hannah Barron. And I'm sitting here like, I can't believe you guys are actually taking the time to type some of the things you were typing. And she don't care. It's a view and a click to her. That's how she makes her money. That's how she goes to a sponsor. Says, yeah, I got, 28 million views this past month. 27,559,999 are guys my age. And I'm like, but you know what she can do? Here's what she can do. And it's actually pretty funny. She can go to one of them boot. Oh, there we go. You guys finally commenting over there on Instagram. Those guys are also in the Epstein files. Alvin Delgado says, call them out. Listen, seriously, that's what we need to do. And some guys do call them out in the comment section. They're like, dude, what is wrong with you? But here's what she can say. She can go to a boot company and she can tell you, she can go up there and she's wanting a boot sponsorship. And she can walk in there and she goes, the demographic you're trying to reach is construction workers aged 35 to 55. And I'm telling you right now, I can put your boot in front of millions of them. Millions of them. And that company is going to look and she's going to pull out her analytics from her social media and say, right here, look, all of these guys right here, 93% of my guys are aged 35 to 55. And that company is going to go, I don't care that you're in a bikini. You can sell us boots. And that's how she does. Old creepers. I will say I thought a lot of those old creepers would have said the same stuff if they see her in person. They probably would. But here's the reality. Here's the reality. You reach a certain age in life as a man where you have to understand that that's off the table. That's off the table. Now, if you're Elon Musk ugly, but you're the richest man in the world, that's different. That's different. But at some point, all of us have to come to the realization, they're called gooners now. We have to come to the realization that when you have a pretty 20-something-year-old walk by, you might as well not even waste your time. There's no sense in it. Now, I love my wife. So this is not, but even that, why are you wasting your time? But sex does sell, unfortunately. Money talks. That's your young person word of the day. The T. Oh, gooners. Okay, so we got T and we got gooners. T and gooners. Danny, the equation is half your age plus 7 years for a minimum dating age. Okay, so let's do the math. So that would be 26 and a half plus 7, so 33 and a half. I'm going to be honest with you, at my age, and I'm never getting divorced. Because, guys, you know what's going to happen. I told you my wife's going to end up killing me, and she did it. I tell all you guys that. But young girls are stupid. Young girls are dumb. I don't want to waste my time. I would not want to waste my time. But y'all would be surprised how many 20-year-olds are with old men. Money. What was that big blonde that loved the Texas oil man back in the day? Y'all know who I'm talking about? She was thick. Big old blonde. She kind of looked like a chunky Marilyn Monroe. She ended up dying. We will come locate you out of Latham. 31 for you. That's still too young for a relationship. Told mine I'd never remarry, be young. Anna. John G. See, John, I knew it'd be an old fart like you that would know who I'm talking about. What was her last name? Anna Nicole Smith. Anna Nicole Smith. She's hot. She's a good-looking woman. A little thick, but hey, nothing wrong with that. But she got in with that old oil man. You remember that? He was like on his deathbed. In fact, there's a picture of him laying in bed, and he's just sitting there. He looks like a shriveled up prune, and she's sitting there laying on the side of the bed like she really gives two shits. She's sitting there going, God, I wish he'd die. She's like, could you quit fighting? Go on, see Jesus. Have you seen the no makeup Pamela Anderson now? I have. And I'll tell you this, I respect her for doing that. Because here's how you got to judge. And I told my son this. Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher were the reverse. Yeah, that happens. I told my son this a long time ago. Some of Danny Pruitt wisdom. Because they ain't much of it. But when I do put it out there, I put it out there. I said two things. And I forget what the other one. Oh, I can't say the other one. But I said, can you wake up next to her every morning without her makeup and not go, ugh? And if you can, I said, you got to think about that. And I think that a lot of girls would be prettier without makeup. Now, Pamela Anderson, though, you got to realize she's aged. We all get old. I promise you I looked a lot better in my 20s than I do now. J. Howard Marshall was the rich old guy Anna was married to. And then Messick says, not going to lie, I wish I could find me an old woman with some money. A new bass boat would be nice. You got to play that game, but you got to play it. Back in the day, that was different. If you want to see what you are marrying, go over to her mom's house at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. That will be your future wife. Yeah. And that was my point. Now, Pam Anderson, she has embraced the no makeup thing. She's embraced it. But how old is she now? And if we're just being quite honest, and since I'm not on TikTok, I can say this. If you were married to Tommy Lee, you'd look old as shit too. I just quit dating women that made me want to not wake up the next morning. I went through some crazies in college. You got to marry the right kind of crazy too. My wife's crazy. It makes it exciting. So the mom thing, that is, but see, like, my wife's got she's got her and her sister by her mom. And her sister is the one that looks more like her mom. My wife looks more like her dad's side of the family. And all I can say is thank God. Priorities. But so that is it. But that's what I did tell Trey that. I told my boy that. I said, do you love her when she ain't got makeup on? Think about that. Because listen, it is fake. There is a lot of fake stuff. Now, back in the 80s, all we had to deal with was big hair. Big hair. Sexuality and fishing sells, but so does good jerky. Yeah, it does, Henry. It does. It really does. I'd be a sugar baby, but I don't like the taste of. Oh my gosh, Jeremiah, I can't even read that out. Pam with no makeup is different from her with no makeup back in the day. And yeah, Coleman, you saw that. I almost read that comment. Salted clam. You guys are awful. It is not me. It is the people I hang around. Selma Hayek still looks hot as hell. She does. Selma's a pretty lady. And there's a lot of them like that. But back in the day, you didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Now, have y'all seen the Messick? I wish you guys could see the comment section going over here on YouTube. I can't even read it. That would have got you banned. That's what would have got you banned. I told you what. Did I tell you guys, if you guys came on, what got me banned yesterday on TikTok? And we appealed it and lost our appeal. I called myself a fat little something, and they wasn't a cuss word. I said something about little fat, something like that. And boom, that's when it got off. It was for hate speech. I got banned for hate speech against myself. Fred Ashcraft, here's some marriage advice. Better make sure you like each other. Once the kids are grown and gone, it's just going to be y'all two left in the house. And Henry says over on IG, go look up April Vokey. She's a badass fly angler. I ain't got my pen, but I'll look her up. It wasn't the M word? No, it was not. It was I called myself a fat little something, whatever it was, I finished it. That's what got me banned. That's what got me kicked off of TikTok for hate speech and threats of violence or something like that. It is what it is. I will tell you this. This is the honest truth. I've been married 30 years. Now, when my wife said for better or for worse, she damn sure meant it, because there's been a lot more worse than there has been better. Okay, that woman should have threw me to the road 100 times. Can't run her off. She absolutely meant it. I liked my kids better once they got old. I liked my kids better once they got older, where I could have more adult conversations with them. So I like them better now than I did when they were cute when they were young, but I had to pay for a lot of shit. I don't have to pay for as much now. That's a plus. I get along better with my wife now. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I get along. I just like my wife better now than I did 10 years ago. Farmer's taking one from the team. 21-foot bass boat to 24-foot center console, and I'd eat Farmer. But you better make sure you is somebody you can like. So I don't know. All right, so guys, I'm not going to go as long today because I've got somebody coming up here to see me, and I actually got to get some work done. I think I could sit here and talk with you guys for 5 hours straight. And once we get the guys on Instagram to start figuring out we do this, because today was the first day I did it. But we'll continue that and do the live. So every day at 12. Now, tomorrow night, let's see, tomorrow's topics for the lunch break, I'll figure them out. And actually, tomorrow night on the live well, we got to figure it out. Taking that week off, you guys would be amazed at taking a week off, what it does for your scheduling and everything. Hell, keep talking. This traffic is rough. Like some of these guys got to go back to work. I actually have to do some work today. I don't want to, but if you're in the car, drive over here to the shop. I've got a guy. I forget his name. He was in here. I forget his name, but he's on his way from Kentucky back to Kentucky. He's going to stop by and he's going to come in and talk with me for a while. Farmer, you did outpunt your coverage. I don't know what your wife sees in you, other than you're big. That's why I like you. But Farmer's got a wife that he shouldn't have got, and you know I love you, Farmer. I'm teasing with you and all that. It's a long time till 6 p.m. What would you guys do if we just came in here all day and talked, and I talked for 6 hours straight? We might do a like a lunch break marathon one day. Georgia Country Boys got to get back at it. Y'all have a good one. I'll be in the main office tomorrow, so I'll catch up with you Friday. I know you don't want the boss knowing who you're listening to, DPs, like that. Also, too, listen, you guys on Facebook, a lot of you guys I'm friends with on Facebook and all that, message me. Oh, Danny, I told my wife, my girlfriend / fiance, that you said I outpunted my coverage, and she was in tears laughing so hard and said, that's right. Listen, we all, honestly, a lot of us do not deserve the wives that we have. Lunch break turns into dinner session. Keep it running and just check in with us. I could talk for 6 hours. Hell, that's all I'm going to do for the rest of the day anyway while I'm working. But maybe we do a nice shirt. Rob Robleski. I was typing that email to you, Rob, before I got on the live. I'll get it to you. Farmer told his wife when it's his time he wants to be cremated. She made an appointment for next week. No doubt. No doubt. Me too. And Henry, I'm telling you, if you see my face on the news, on a milk carton, whatever, my wife did it 100%. Justin Nichols Productions, about to head to Hartwell for a mini vacation / fishing trip. I do remember who gave you that shirt, Rob. You did. 100%. I wear it in memory of you. I don't like the NPFL guys. I like you. I'm just kidding. I like the NPFL guys. 100% I remember who gave me this shirt. 100%. Danny, do you want to go fishing tonight? You know what, Farmer? Let me call the boss, make sure I ain't got nothing I got to do, but I think I can. I'll let you know here in a little bit. It depends. My wife went to the dentist today, so I got to see, and she has a fear of the dentist for some reason. I don't know what it is. The woman she could storm the gates of hell and take them all off one by one. But you tell her she's got to go to the dentist, and she turns into big, I don't want to go. So let me make sure she's okay. I'll get with you here in a little bit. But yeah, I'd love to go fishing tonight. Ain't as humid today, so it'd be nice. Justin, he's down there next to Murray. Maybe y'all can hook up. So anyway, I'm gonna go do some work. But maybe we do have a marathon one day where I have some guests and I schedule a guest every 30 minutes to every like once an hour, and we just have them coming in here one day. We'll do it for charity or something, or you guys can just pay me. I can be your charity. I need about $6,727.93. So if any of you got that and can write a check, I sure would appreciate it. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna open the shop back up and do some business. You guys, hey, that are on Instagram, I appreciate you joining us, and we're gonna do this every day. I think I'm just gonna go to Instagram when I do this one. That way, I can say what I want to say and not get kicked off. And then I'll do a TikTok live like separate where I can watch the words and all that. So y'all go back to work. I'm gonna end it right here. Yep, my buddy's out there waiting for me right now, and go fund account for Danny. So you guys be good. Great way to slack off. Hey, we're going to make it a habit. Make it a habit. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. You guys on YouTube, you guys are out of here right now. There you